and start to learn the small details of the game and learn the position and learning what you can and you can't do, the sky's the limit for you. He has greatness written all over him, but his energy and his effort, that was something we knew we were going to get from him from day one.
Again, we're being joined by Raiders defensive line coach Brenston Buckner.
Hey, Brentson, it's Chaz. I know, like Scott said, Raider fans really enjoyed getting to know you watching Hard Knocks. And I love your honest, no-nonsense kind of tough love coaching style. Now, I know you played for some great coaches, Bill Cowher, George Seifert, John Fox, and now worked with Mike Tomlin, Bruce Arians. How much of that coaching style is you, and what are some of the things you picked up along the way?
Well, a lot of it is just, as a player, being an ex-player, the kind of coach I am is the kind of coach I felt I got the most from.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted the coach to be brutally honest with me. If it's great, tell me it's great. If it's not, tell me that too. And, just let me know where I stand. But, and I always got that mostly, John Fox and John Mitchell, my defensive line coach when I was in Pittsburgh with the Pittsburgh Steelers, those were two of the guys that it was black and white. It was no gray area. It wasn't no, you knew exactly where you stood after you sat down and watched film with them or you had a meeting with them. They didn't want you wondering. They always wanted you to know exactly where you stood. And when I was able to intern, I got picked up again from Mike Tomlin. His honesty with his players the first day of training camp, telling them, hey, this is what you got to do to make the team. This is what we have. This is your road. Now, are you going to travel it or not? And I just took that as confirmation that I've been around three great guys who have great success in this league, and they're using this coaching style. It must be something to it, and it just fits my personality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Bear Bryant once says, coach them hard and hug them later.
Yeah, that's right.
And I take that. I take that literally. I'm going to coach them hard, but at the end of the day, when we walk off that field, when we can sit down and eat lunch together, eat dinner, catch a movie, we're going to laugh and talk about families and make sure everything is good off the field. But in between those lines, when we go to work, I'm going to hold their feet to the fire.
Well, and Coach Buckner, I mean, you 18 years NFL experience, of course, the last 6 years, Tampa Bay, Arizona, and now Oakland. But you're also a Clemson guy, right? So, of course, with Cleveland Furl being there now, and I wrote a piece about the website and his development because I thought people were being unfair in looking at him and just focusing on one number, which I thought was the wrong number anyway, which was sacks, right? But just as he's shown this past game, he's progressing and he's doing really well. Talk about his development and sort of the expectation you have for him versus maybe the outside.
Well, we didn't. A lot of people got misinformed that, and I read and I hear a lot. Well, he was drafted. He's supposed to replace Mack, or he's supposed to elevate, the sack numbers. But we drafted Cleveland Farrell to be a football player.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted him to be a well-rounded football player. Nobody can replace Mack. Mack is Khalil Mack. He's a freak. Not one time have we ever sat with Cleveland and say, hey, you got to do this because Mack did this. We just want Cleveland to be the best Cleveland he can be day in and day out for our team. And his development is coming. Like once I said before, everybody wants this instant gratification. Football players are not microwavable. You don't put them in 2 or 3 weeks, they're ready to go. Just because you drafted into a professional sport don't make you a professional. It takes some time. But I'm happy where Clee is going. He's learning the game. He's learning his body. He's not even fully developed yet. Cleveland still had one more year of college. He played a lot of games at Clemson, and he started for a lot. And people think, oh well, he's this well-developed guy. He came out early. He could have went back to school. So I'm very happy the way he is. He's maturing, as a football player. He's starting to understand the things that guys are doing to him and what they can do. You go into college, everything is cookie cut. You're going to get a zone block left, a zone block right. You're going to get blocked by this guy. Where in the NFL, offensive line play is very delicate. It has ins and outs. And a lot of these guys have never seen this type of stuff before. And it's not just something you can just go out there and just say, hey, I'm ready to go. I've been a defensive lineman my whole life. You have to go to another level. And I don't think people appreciate, defensive line and offensive linemen, what they have to go through to adjust to this league.
Yeah, no, again, we are talking to Raiders defensive line coach Brenston Buckner. And Coach Buckner, a couple of the other guys that we always talk about, and some of last year, the Raiders drafted, of course, Mo Hurst and PJ Hall, and particularly I think PJ Hall is one of those really underappreciated guys because and they're both doing fine, but he, to me, I watch him on the inside and what he's doing, and that's not always the sexy stuff, right? But you're creating a push on that line which allows you to do so much more. Talk about the rest of the guys in the unit overall. What's the biggest challenge you have with them on the back half of this season?
Well, PJ does a lot of things. The one thing PJ is gifted with is, rare speed and strength for his size. And being a defensive tackle and a nose tackle in this league, a lot of times it's not a really glaring position. Everybody's not Aaron Donald and everybody's not Warren Sapp, but PJ does a lot of the dirty work and he embraces it. Same thing as Mo Hurst. Those guys were thrown to the wolves last year, coming in as rookies and have to play that many snaps that early, and the same as Arden Key. So the challenge for me is to keep these guys improving. And we always say we're not as good as people think we are. We're not as bad as they say we are either. We got to continue to grow, and that's the challenge because when you have success, expectations go up. And I tell them that we don't want to feel pressure. We're not going to apply it to ourselves. We're just going to work hard every day and let our play speak for themselves. And we're going to have some bumps in the road, but we can learn from them and get better week in and week out. We'll be exactly where we want to be by the end of the year.
Right. And Brentson, you've been there. When you joined Carolina, I think that first season was 1-15, correct? And then 2 seasons later, you were in the Super Bowl.
Yes, and I speak from experience, and you're exactly right. I've been on the other side of that thing. You win the first game of the year, then you lose 15 straight.
Unbelievable.
You don't even think tying your cleats right. You don't know if you know how to put a uniform on it. But I just know the hard work that goes into it, and and thank God I was able to go through it because I can express that to guys. Yep. And we love our fans. We know that fans are excited and they want to see their teams do good. But we got to understand in our room that it's a process, and we got to trust our process week in and week out. We're not trying to be the best pass rushers we can be. We're not trying to be the best run stoppers we can be. We're trying to be the best football players we can be. And anything the team asks us to do, we want to be able to step out there and do it to the best of our ability every Sunday.
Well said, Coach. And before we let you go, I know you're focused on the season, and of course, the work ethic of Coach Gruden and your entire staff is well known throughout the ranks. But you're going to be coming here next year to Las Vegas. How you feel about that? Your family ready to make the move out here?
Yes, I'm feeling good. I'm excited about it. I spent time in Vegas, hanging around. Don't stay too far because I reside in Phoenix, and being out there, I could never envision a professional football team in Vegas. Like 10 years ago, we used to sit, out in Vegas and said, wow, what if they had an NFL team? And now it's going to come to fruition, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So we're totally excited. The Raiders is a brand that's worldwide, and, I know the people of Vegas are excited. The people in surrounding areas that are going to get the chance to get to see the Raiders are going to be exciting. And we're a better team to be on the Strip and compete with the resorts than the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah.
Because that brand carries a lot of weight.
You got it. And your new headquarters out there in Henderson, and, of course, the stadium, a great place for you to develop your team and make them the football players that you want to be. So, Coach Brenston Buckner, I appreciate you being with us here on the Silver and Black tonight.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, Coach. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks. All right. That was Coach Brenston Buckner. Man, I love that guy.
He's
great and really doing a great job,
Oh, yeah.
And one of the points he brought up, and we'll talk a little bit after the break about it too, which is, people see progress and they want instant gratification.
Right.
They want this line. They want to go from no sacks to 50 sacks, and that's not how it works.
That's just
you
the society we live in. 0 to 60 in 6 seconds, man. Let's go.
That's true. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll close the show. We'll talk a little more about the Raiders' defensive line, look ahead at the game on Sunday, as well as Silver and Black Today, which is also on Sunday. You're listening to the Silver and Black Tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
CBS Sports Radio.
Sound off with Silver and Black tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
All right, welcome back to the home stretch, and down the stretch they come. That's right, we are live, Silver and Black tonight. Reminder, coming up right at the bottom of the hour, the Wolfpack. The University of Nevada, Reno Wolfpack take on Texas Arlington. My son will be at that game.
Never turn your back on
He's
a
up at
Wolfpack.
school. Hey, they are coming up at the bottom of the hour. Also, reminder, next week, we will not be on the air Tuesday night here on CBS Sports Radio. We're hoping to do a podcast on Tuesday night. There is a basketball conflict, that game early, so make sure you do it. Also, make sure you catch our new weekly show, Paul Ihander, Lindsey Brown, and myself, The Playmakers, from 3 to 6 p.m. every night here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. All right, let's get back to Raider football here and what we've been talking about. And Chaz, I want to ask this question because to me, one of the issues with the NFL, the way things are. Well, first, wait. Let me go back. We talked about Max Crosby,
right,
with Coach Buckner there, and we want to thank him again for coming on the show.
Yeah, the Raiders are lucky to have that guy.
They really are. I think he is part of that solution, part of the long-term problem. Thanks to the Raiders for getting him on what is a busy night for them. So, but he talked about Max Crosby. I was wrong about Max Crosby on draft night. I just wasn't that excited about it.
Okay.
But again, I didn't see the film like they did. I didn't know him as well.
Yep.
And so he's proved me wrong, and I have no problem admitting that. But I want to play, too. Here's what Coach Gruden said, because we heard what Buckner said, but I wanted to play some sound here from Coach Gruden and what he said about Max Crosby this week.
I mean, that's his game. Like we've been talking about, he has a relentless playing style that we like. I talk about factor grades more than sacks. A lot of people are counting sacks out there. Sacks, I put them on a reel. Who'd you sack? When'd you sack him? And who'd you beat? And how'd you beat him?
Yep.
You know, Crosby's batting down passes. He's getting pressures. I know it doesn't necessarily show up on the sack ledger, but he's impacting the game. And that's the big thing that we want from all of our defenders.
I like that, the factor grades, doing the things in the game that don't show up on the stat sheet. We talked about Cleveland Ferrell on the Sunday show a couple of weeks ago, and I was making the point that he is making an impact, whether it be clogging up the line or so that Crosby and Mayo can get in there, or just, staying with his assignment, staying in the zone, batting down a ball, just total teamwork, stay in your lane, do your job. And that's the thing that Gruden likes. The factor grades that he's talking about, the grinders, you just do your job. Everybody stay in your lane, do your job, and we're going to get this thing done.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think that's the thing, though, the instant gratification thing.
Right.
Okay, so I get it. Ferrell was drafted 4th overall.
That's it's always going to be the argument.
That's always the issue, I think, for people. But also, I think people look at the wrong numbers. He is not, as Coach Buckner said, he is not a replacement for Khalil Mack. He was not meant to be that. You don't replace a player like that, right?
Exactly.
You eventually hope you get somebody like that, okay?
Yeah.
But you don't look at it as a swap. Oh, this is a guy we're getting, right? So I think from that perspective,
it's totally different. If you're looking for a guy, if you can get a guy for 10, 12 years, a solid NFL pro to play on your line, that's a bonus, man. It doesn't matter where you get him.
No, it is. And so now the Raiders, things are going well. 5-4, clearly in the playoff hunt here. There's still a long way to go. I have to remind people that we still have a ways to go for them to get there. And that's the question I want to ask with the few minutes we have left here, Chaz, is I think the worst thing you can be in the NFL is 8-8.
Of course.
Because I'm not saying you don't want to see the Raiders improve by 4 games, because that would be great progress.
Yep.
But sort of 8-8 is you don't make the playoffs and you don't stay in the top end of the draft.
No, it's the worst.
And so you're kind of in the middle there. So in my view, I won't consider it a failure if they go 8-8. Not at all. I mean, I would consider it a success. I thought they'd win 6 games. So to me, though,
when you're at 500 and you're stuck at 500, it's the worst place you can be. My last couple of years with the Lakers, we were obviously rebuilding and we were getting those top draft picks every year. And I had run into a scout that used to work with me there, and he was with Charlotte Hornets. He says, "Man, everybody envies you because we're stuck at 500 every year. For 5, 6, 7 years they were a 500 team. You're just barely making the playoffs. You're not making the playoffs, but you're not getting a good enough draft pick." And, Kelly says it on the show. We've said it plenty of times. You either want to be 4-12 or 12-4. You just do not want to be 500. But if now that we're at that point where we're a little bit above 500, and we can kind of see the playoffs off on the horizon. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Right. But having playoff experience is extremely important. For a young team like the Raiders, having so much adversity this season. Look, I think, the 2012 Seahawks are a perfect example of how the playoffs can galvanize a young team and give it long-term success. Obviously they had a great draft with Wagner and Russell Wilson, but they already had pieces in place. Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, and they won the wild card game that year in Washington. Then they lost the divisional game in Atlanta. But to compete in the playoffs where every play matters and that intensity and that pressure, it's invaluable experience. And, of course, the Peacocks went on to win and go to the next 2 Super Bowls, but they have sustained that success, and that is absolutely what the Raiders are trying to achieve. Now, do I think the Raiders can make it to the AFC Championship game this year? Of course not. But I think the experience of a playoff game would really accelerate the learning curve for this young Raiders team. Yeah, and the probability of the Raiders making the playoffs is between 38 and 53%, depending how you look at it. But I would love to see them make the playoffs for the exact reason you're saying, which is just the experience. I don't expect them to even win a game. But if they can get there, the whole idea of getting to the postseason, how it gets ratcheted up, the attention, the focus, everything, the intensity in which you have to play. And in that 2016 season, I was so excited because, even though we lost Carr, everybody's getting to experience that playoff atmosphere, and that's going to bode well going forward. But then obviously, they broke it up. They all of a sudden had to rebuild and everything. Nobody from that team's on this team now. So we've got to, start all over. But if we can get a playoff game this year, and they just get a taste of what it's like, that really going to big strides for the future. Yeah, and wow, this show's gone by quick. But Chaz, I think they need to win Sunday. I mean, you got to beat the Bengals at home. The Raiders have the second best home record in the AFC. They're 4-1. All 2 of their games at home. Yeah, I know. Well, they're 4-1. They're 4-1. Obviously at home. I think the Patriots are 4-0. Yeah, you got to take care of the Bengals. You should be able to go on the road and beat the Jets. That's a tough one, though. It's a tough one. Going across country again. They finally got comfortable being at home, and they're really feeding off of that home crowd energy. Yeah. The Raider fans, you guys out there have just been phenomenal. Oh, amazing. Of course. Got to keep that up. They do. But they can. I wrote down, best case scenario for the Raiders, 6-1, that's unattainable. 5-2, maybe not. 4-3, that gets you at 9-7. Now you got to start looking at tiebreakers against the Steelers and the Bills. I was looking at their record. Their best case scenario is 4-3, 3-4, worst case scenario. So tiebreaker with them, tiebreaker with the Steelers. We own the tiebreaker with the Colts. So there are a lot of possibilities there. The Raiders there are, and there's also a possibility that they go 9-7 and don't make the playoffs because of the competitiveness in the division. Of course, things don't come apart. It looks like the Steelers and Bills end up 10-6. Maybe we'll see. The Steelers had Mike Tomlin's done a good job. Yeah, he's done a great job. All right, we are at the end. No, man, I appreciate. We just got started. Chaz Osborne. Listen, Sunday, Tyler Dragon from the Cincinnati Enquirer will join us. He'll preview the Bengals. We'll talk about other moves this week, and we'll take your calls at 702-889-5978. So join us on Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. The video will be better because we'll have a better connection. The station's had issues today. Apologize for that, but we'll get back to that. This will also be up on the podcast feed. You can get this show via iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and elsewhere like Stitcher. So make sure you do that. Chaz Osborne, thanks, man. Appreciate you being in. Great. All right. Good time. And for Brenston Buckner. That's right. Thanks, and for our producer, Mark Bonilla, and our engineer, Trent Ogle, we are Silver and Black today. I'm Scott Branson. He is Chaz Osborne. We appreciate you guys being with us as always because without our listeners, we don't have this radio show, and without the support of Raider Nation, we are not here. So thank you for all of that. We will talk to you on Sunday at 8 a.m. As always, make sure you follow us at Silver Black Today, the number 2 day on Twitter. Also, make sure you follow us on YouTube. Hit notifications so you get notification of it and you don't miss another show. Also, subscribe to the podcast. Check out the website at silverandblacktoday.com. Until next time, may the autumn wind always be at your back. Yes. Take care, everybody.
The